It is growing late in the Wichita Mountains of Oklahoma. Clouds breathe by like smoke from ancient fires. A wind from the north stirs grasslands never touched by a plow. The falling sun drags day down behind the horizon of oak and stone, and a strange stillness falls in behind. Nothing can be heard now as the moon rises. But the voice of beasts echoes of a time when the American West was alive with the thunder of hooves. When Lewis and Clark made their historic expedition into the American West, it is estimated that as many as 60 million buffalo roamed the plains. By 1850, the herds were so large that trains were forced to stop while the animals passed. Elk ranged from the southwest into Canada and from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Several decades later, large herds of Texas longhorns moved northward, as many as 10 million head, from Texas to Kansas along the cattle trails. 3 great herds, all 3 critical components of American history. But something happened as America raced toward the 20th century. The hide hunters came for the buffalo. Millions of the great beasts were gunned down. Elk, once the most widespread of all American hooved animals, were hunted down, often for their horns alone. By 1880, the buffalo was on the verge of extinction. The elk had been driven from most of its ancestral range, and the longhorn's day was nearly done. Ghost Herds of the Wichitas is the story of these 3 great American herds and how they were driven to near extinction by ignorance, greed, and innocence. It is the story of how these herds were saved, brought back from the abyss. The setting for the story is here, on the Wichita Mountains National Wildlife Refuge. Nearly 60,000 acres of native grassland and scrub forest were designated as a game sanctuary by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1905. It is the oldest managed wildlife preserve in the United States. Approximately 1.5 million visitors come here each year to see and experience the herds of buffalo, elk, longhorn, and other wildlife that thrive on the refuge. The heart of the story is the role the refuge played in saving the buffalo from oblivion, a tale as improbable as the wildest fiction. The story has a marvelous cast of characters. Teddy Roosevelt, Buffalo Jones, legendary Texas cattleman Charles Goodnight, Wild West showmen Pawnee Bill and Buffalo Bill. By the turn of the century, only a few animals survived, mostly in Wild West shows and zoos. 15 buffalo from the New York Zoo were loaded into crates and shipped by rail to the Oklahoma refuge.
The Great Spirit's cattle return, and it was a very moving thing because this was a religious thing for them. These old warriors were crying, telling their children and their grandchildren of the old days and of these the Great Spirit's cattle. Tears running down. It was very, very moving because the buffalo had returned.
Ghost Herds of the Wichitas is also a contemporary story. buffalo herd has prospered so well that it threatens to outstrip the carrying capacity of the land. So each year, the refuge rounds up the excess animals and prepares for an annual auction.
You just don't fly this helicopter doing this type of work. You almost wear it like you would wear a flight suit. You have to know at all times where your tail rotor is, absolutely how close you can get to the tree line. These buffalo will definitely try to beat you in the timber and the trees.
Once we get the animals into a corral, particularly those corrals that are away from our headquarters set of corrals, we'll sort off the older bulls first before they have a tendency to injure or hurt some of the other animals just trying to get away from you. We'll load them into trailers and trailer all of the animals down into one of the interior pastures, which we will hold them until roundup's complete. Once we have all the animals rounded up that we can possibly get and they're in the interior pastures, we use horses and dogs, basically, and occasionally vehicles to bring them into our main corral system and actually select out the animals that we're going to sell. Once they're in there, we actually will run them through small bunch by small bunch, sort out any animals that come through, and you look at them and you say, well, this animal, just by physical characteristics, is an older animal, and you kick it in a sale pen, and you actually select out all the sales animals in this manner. 112 sale.
The buffalo auction is the area's social event of the year, and people come from throughout the United States to bid or simply experience the excitement. It is here at the auction that the story of the buffalo comes full circle. Each year, a number of Native Americans purchase buffalo from the Wichita Refuge for ceremonial purposes.
Well, I'm a member of the Loyal Shawnee tribe, and we conduct a buffalo dance ceremony every year in the fall. And it is out of respect and loyalty to the animal that at one time sustained us and kept us alive, and now we're trying to help take care of it.
Ghost Herds of the Wichitas is the story of a beautiful province of wilderness that is as wild and undeveloped today as it was a century ago. It is the fascinating story of how this refuge was instrumental in saving the buffalo and Texas longhorn from extinction, and how elk were restored to country where its haunting bugle had not been heard for nearly 100 years. The program takes the viewer into the world of the buffalo and reveals rare scenes of buffalo behavior. It takes the viewer on a wild ride through history and then across the prairie on buffalo and longhorn roundups, and into the even wilder action of the auction ring. And creating a backdrop for this adventure will be the unparalleled natural beauty of the Wichita Mountains and the abundant wildlife that dwells in this important national treasure.